Supta Virasana. Supta is reclining, and Virasana is the hero's pose. So hopefully you watched the previous Virasana video and are comfortable with that setup. And you'll notice here in this pose we have those same legs with the chest open. The palms are up and the head is level on a blanket. So we'll be looking at the more restorative version of this posture with a keen eye to helping digestion and how we can go deeper into this pose to help with digestion. It's one of the few poses that are okay to do after you eat, actually. And this is not the full version of the pose, which is really difficult for most people to get into, even long-time practitioners. So this supported version is nice for most anyone. In order to get into the pose, you just come down and sit into Virasana. And when you come down into the pose, you just use your hands to keep the chest lifted, keep the chest open, and elongate the spine as you place the body over the bolster. Making sure that the arms are rolling out to help keep the chest open here over the bolster. And the whole head and neck are supported there on a blanket. So if you've been practicing Shavasana along with our other video, you should be familiar with how that upper body is feeling, as well as the lower body from the Virasana instructions. You want to make note of where the bolster is placed. So the bolster can be placed in a variety of positions. The two main ones are right up against the buttocks, which will support the entire spine, the entire chest to open. However, some people find this can create a mild back bend that's a little too difficult for them and can create some discomfort in this area. So an alternative to that too is to place the bolster a few inches away from the buttocks in order to create more space for the lower back to release, as well as for the abdomen to release, which is a little more ideal for what we're going to do here. But use your own discretion of how your body responds to this pose and what it needs, as we're all very different. But make sure you're not uncomfortable with whatever you're choosing. The main key in this pose is that abdominal region. So this pose really opens up the quadriceps and opens up the abdominal region. So as you're here laying, just keep breathing and using the breath, trying to soften and release the body into the pose so that you're not feeling constriction anywhere. And that's pretty much the basic setup of this pose. And now to go deeper into the pose, I want you to start paying attention to the inhalation. And on your inhalation, let your navel drop towards the spine. And you should feel that this is encouraging what's already feeling like almost like a vacuuming action or a sucking action, to where the navel moves towards the spine, the rib cage opens, and the air fills the full capacity of the lungs and more towards the upper lungs. So just a word of caution on that. We are using this in order to help to release the abdominal region here. And I would not suggest practicing in this manner over very extended periods of time, for that reason that it can tend to encourage upper chest breathing when you're laying over the bolster in this manner due to that mild back bend that's happening. So if you are practicing this way, as a lot of people do over extended periods of time, take one of the alternatives, which I'll show at the end of the video, or work with a teacher who has a lot of knowledge of pranayama if you are doing this over long periods of time, as once again it can disturb that breathing pattern and force that upper breathing, which can, while it may leave you feeling high, is not really a healthy effect from the pose. And then to move deeper into the pose, you can take the arms up overhead, which should increase that action slightly. Be careful that you don't overarch the back when you do this, but try to keep the back neutral, the shoulder blades into the back body, head and neck soft and relaxed. And just keep breathing there, trying to release the armpit chest area here, the intercostal muscles, the abdominal region, and once again, from the hips towards the knees, you should feel the thighs releasing. So there should be a lot of opening in this. If this is too much for anybody, either come out of the pose or just go back to the last step, making sure that it's a comfortable pose. There's ease in the pose. there's ease in the breath, that you're not having to force or strain to be here at all. And then once you've done that, to further aid in clearing the abdominal region and aiding in the digestive pattern, you can circularly massage that whole abdominal region. You want to go in clockwise circles here, both up and down the belly as well as with the hands themselves. And this is merely tracing the pattern of the ascending colon and the descending colon, and has a very good, strong, and clearing effect on the body. And once you've done that for a few minutes, you can just lay in this pose as long as is comfortable for you, keeping that attention on the breath and releasing into the props. Now, for those of you who either want to go further or want some variation, a common adjustment in this pose is to keep that strap around the thighs, which we showed in the Virasana video. But you can also add some weights on top of the thighs. So either if you have sandbags, as we have here, or a 5-pound weight, or any comfortable heavy object that you can place on the thighs. Even a bolster can give a light pull on the thighs, but that'll really help ground the thighs. It'll help the upper torso open up more readily. For those of you who are having a lot of difficulty laying back all the way on the bolster, this is one of my favorite setups. It's with 2 blocks. One of them is a short way and one is standing the full, tall, long way. And you create just an angle there with the bolster, having your blanket there. This is also the pose I would recommend for you if you do want to practice this over extended periods of time, or if you want to be in the pose for longer periods of time. You can stay here upwards of 15-20 minutes or more if you're comfortable. I would really recommend this pose, as it helps the upper body stay quite a bit more neutral here. It doesn't have that kind of arching effect that laying over their bolster does, and this avoids that issue of the upper chest breathing. So if you are going to do this for longer practices or longer periods of times, this is really the pose I would recommend working within for beginners. And you can also have different variations of the support. So if you are having a hard time, you can take a couple bolsters, as we show here. Some people I've seen even use upwards of 3 bolsters, different variations of blocks. So you have to get creative with your setup to what works for your body. This is another popular one with the 2 bolsters, where you can either sit on the first bolster and recline back, or take the buttocks down onto the floor and recline back over the 2 bolsters, which are staggered in their placement. So just a few variations and details on Supta Virasana. And then when you're coming out of the pose, you want to put the hands flat onto the ground, lift up with the chest, keep the chest open, and stay there for a few moments, take in whatever benefits you got in the pose. And when you're ready, you can just fold your legs behind you and then straighten your legs to come out.